Hi, this is Tom Oding at the University of Iowa. I'm going to show you a video where we go through several stages to learn Phaco chop. First, I think you should just use the chopper while you're doing your divide and conquer. Here you can see we've got a very large anterior chamber, which is perfect for getting the large chopper, which at first when you put it in the eye seems just way too huge. And so just getting used to the chopper in the eye is a very important first step. So here we're doing divide and conquer. We're using the chopper as our manipulating instrument. It's actually pretty good for spinning the lens, and it's actually pretty good for dividing when your groove is ready. So here you can see the divide and conquer technique is being done using the chopper, and that's a very good first step for learning Phaco chop. I think the second step is to chop quarters. So do your normal divide and conquer, but bring the quarter up as shown here, and then once you have it up in the anterior chamber, use the chopper and chop it into smaller pieces just to get used to the idea of manipulating the chopper against the Phaco needle. Again, this is a nice transition step. You're getting used to using the two instruments together and the feel of the lens as you chop through it. Now here's the classic stop and chop. The stop and chop refers to starting off on divide and conquer and then stopping and the divide and conquer and starting to chop. So it's called stop and chop. So here you can see a nice groove has been made. The chopping instrument has been introduced. And so the first step is to divide the groove into half, into two pieces. And now we're going to rotate, and you're going to go about 60 degrees, and you're going to impale into the nucleus. Make sure you're under the capsule, and you're going to chop it, in this case, into a little piece which is about a third of a half or about a sixth. And again, you're getting used to the idea of the chopper being in the eye, the chopper manipulating the lens, making sure that you're doing this in a safe way so that you're underneath the capsule. And because you've already got the groove out of the way, the pieces tend to come more easily to the tip. There tends to be less of a jigsaw puzzle than when you're doing pure Phaco chop, which makes it much easier. Now here's another technique called stop later and chop. And here the idea is that you're going to divide it into three pieces. And so here's the normal sort of divide and conquer where the pieces have been sort of broken up into three pieces. And so now instead of making a groove here in the other half, we're going to go ahead and chop the other half. And so this is a little bit later than stop and chop, because we've already got it into three pieces. But so now we're going to embed, and now we're going to break this into and now this is the opposite of that, which is stop sooner and chop. And this is a technique where you're making your groove, and you've got half of your groove made here, you can see. And this is a nice transition towards Phaco chop. So you've got your groove is about halfway done. You've introduced your chopper instrument. You're going to rotate the lens around so that it's right across from you. And rather than making the other half of the groove, we're going to increase the vacuum and the aspiration flow rate, and we're going to embed into the nucleus here such that the entire tip is embedded. And we're going to reach under the capsule, and we're going to chop here. This is called stop sooner and chop. The best lenses to chop are really the white cataracts, and they're best for several reasons. One is the lens material itself is very chalky and easily chops into pieces. The other is that these are very hard to divide and conquer, because if you make a groove in these pieces, sometimes you groove way too deep, because by the time you have a red reflex, it's too late. So you can see this is the first chop of a resident, and these are good cases to do the first chop. For one, because you've got the trypan blue, which is staining the lens capsule, and the other is, again, because they just break into pieces so nicely. Here you can see the paracentesis was made just a little bit too far over. And so for this chopper, it's more like 90 degrees is where this one is, and where you want it to be more like 60 degrees. You want to make the chopping motion go so that it comes just to the left side of the phaco needle. So you draw a line from the left side of the phaco needle out, and that's where the chopper should embed underneath the capsule into the lens material, and then come right and aim right towards the left side of the phaco needle, just like that. Didn't quite get it, it's no big deal. Just embed again, and then go into the same little slice area where you had started before, after grabbing a hold of the lens right there, and then just go into the same little crack and get it to completely crack into two pieces. So that's the first chop, which is nice to do on a white cataract. And then just a phaco chop where from the very beginning we do the embedding or impaling of the nucleus with the phaco needle, reach out and chop into two pieces, rotate about 60 degrees. Our goal is to break this into about 6 pieces. You can see that the lens is dividing nicely into pieces. This is using an ozzel system, so initially we're going to break it into 6 pieces without using the ozzel, in other words, using the longitudinal, and then later we'll use the ozzel, which is not quite as good for grabbing a hold of the nucleus as is the longitudinal. So now we've broken it into 6 pieces, and we're going to switch over to ozzel mode and pull that piece out. Well, thank you very much. This is the stepwise technique for learning phaco chop. This is Tom Bowden, University of Iowa. Thank you very much.